All right, everybody. It's been a while. Good to be back. Sorry for missing last month. So we're going to talk about a mix of improv and scripting today, and living with the theme. Ryan's running a little late, so you know me. I'm good at running my mouth. I could talk to a bus stop, so I'll just get us going until he manages to make it. Oh my God! What are you doing?
Good to see you again, my friend.
How did they let you in the state?
I don't know. But let's jump on the couch, my friend. Make this more comfortable.
Beautiful. Man, Ryan, in the flesh.
Been too long, my friend.
You are a good ninja.
Learn from the best.
So there's a number of things I'm excited about this week, and we're just going to go a little bit off the hinge, a little on the fly, because that's the very topic that I want to cover. Stop me at any time if there's a topic that you want to make sure that we fit in or change it. But the main theme is going to be just, it's coming out without planning.
Improv at its finest, dude. I'd like to say I didn't know this was coming, considering, but at the same time, that's been a big point already in a couple of our shows. This only a matter of time.
It's destiny. So the general thing I have found is I've been talking to give a big part, I've been talking a lot about how to learn speaking, how to learn writing, and there's that question, do you start learning scripted first, or do you start learning improv first? And it felt like no one had a clear answer, but I'm gonna say definitively, the answer is not subtle. 100% start with scripted, then go on to improv. We'll get into why, but that's the conclusion I'm having. And I feel that after all the work that we've both done, you run your podcast, and then me with all the scripted writings, all the courses that I'm taking, it's just naturally the point of, ta-da, now it's time, because you're ready for improv stuff.
I think we are. It's a big day.
Now, the first thing I want to get into is I had a perfectly timed nostalgic thing. I actually got the prop for it right over here. Let me, Mr. Rogers style, go on over. You remember not so long ago, about 2.5 years, you said you're doing a podcast. I was like, that's interesting. Let's talk about storytelling. After our lunches, I learned so much from you, but I wanted to know more. And I heard about this online.
Believe it or not, I wasn't the best teacher back then. I needed a coach.
What was the guy's that name at the whiskey college that was great at writing but not good at teaching?
Oh, Maddox.
Maddox. You learned the Maddox style of teaching.
Yes, I did. Where this is shit, this is shit, this is good.
Yeah. So I remember that was like a great memory. Like we all have our ambitions, the struggles and stuff, but thinking back about it, I freaking remember how much I've enjoyed doing this together. And doing all the content that I've made. I don't appreciate it at the moment as much. But when we're sitting around over at the Pringles Smoking Oasis, and we're going through the cards, and 90% is you nodding, you're like, oh yeah, I know about that, but it's great to have a clear name for it now. And every so often we get to want to dive deep and have something we discuss together. This taught me so much. It gave me structure and a direction of places to go. But also, like, just doing it together was so fun, dude.
Oh, absolutely. I almost feel like we should do one for old time's sake.
All right, let's do it. Pick a card, any card.
Oh boy. I'm not going to look even. We're just going to go somewhere in here. A good one? Here's Tails.
Tell me what grabs your attention, and you're halfway to grabbing my attention too. See that? So instead of trying to focus so much about imagining what the audience is and what they want to hear, focus on something that really makes you wonder. And people will at least be curious about your emotion.
Okay. Definitely used this before, but like you said, I never had a name, or I've always thought of it more as you are speaking as an authority figure on this subject. People want to hear your opinion, and they want to sound educated, so they want it to turn to their opinion too. That's kind of the understanding of this topic I had before looking into what that card says.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is the timing of you coming this week. It's just supernatural. Same thing. This week, the creator of this, Steve Rawling, this cool British English guy. England's a different place now, but he still feels like that old England that I dreamed about when I was a 12-year-old kid hanging out at my parents' things. And
King Arthur's sword and stone is just around the corner.
oh, 100%! I could see them hanging out together. He resurfaced this past week.
Okay.
What a freaking time trip. He's doing his own life and everything, but I haven't heard anything from his work much. Big launch of a Storyteller community.
Oh, very fun.
So that's this new project he was launching. He had a workshop, and it was just like the workshop. Holy crap! I've missed you, Steve. This is great, and it brought back so many good memories. And I give myself shit for not starting with the functional storytelling, the YouTube script writing. Like the last two courses I took, I should have done first, but it really hit home why this had to be the first place to start, because it brought the love, like learning the storytelling his way at least, was so much fun and joy, and you see kind of all the different ways it could be used instead of some other way.
So this sounds to me like a curious tale of this is something that's so interesting and exciting to you.
Oh my lord, yes! He piqued my curiosity like crazy. I remember back then I would barely sleep. I would go to bed at 2 in the morning, wake up at sunrise, and immediately start studying more. For my health, I'm glad that it wasn't permanent, but...
So just so I'm getting this straight, I picked out cards, said how it related, and you already just mastered improv and brought it into the full theme of today's episode and used it in your own story of what's going on here.
Ryan, if you give me low balls, I will catch them. You're doing the heavy lifting on this one.
That isn't a low ball, my friend. You're knocking that one out of the park.
So what I want to talk about for this is how it was great that I see now why that was done, because getting inspiration and just a way that the first step of teaching is to get people motivated, give them a reason why this matters. And he did such an amazing job of that. There was that struggles, remember what I was getting with the Matthew Dix explanations, where like this is all just sugar candy, and I'm trying to teach lessons, things that matter, things that are hard to understand. These stories don't fit. They're long-winded, people are distracted, it sounds like it's bad even myself. But I went in and I found the Paul Smith book, and then now I'm in the George Blackman's YouTube writing course. And this is what I want to get into now, where seeing those side by side has been, it's like the final boss in a video game, where everything becomes so obvious, what it wasn't, you couldn't see it because you were in the trenches before.
Sure.
So I'm in both courses right now, and I go into George Blackman's group, and people are showing what they posted, there's people asking questions, we're revising things back and forth, and there's still a lot of me trying to catch up, but I got the basics down. And there's this glorious feeling of, it just clicks. This feels good, but not the way of, that was some nice poetry. Like, this matters. I can tell that what this was put together matters to the person who came in. The next paragraph matters to the person that they are now after reading the first paragraph. There's this momentum and emotion. It sounds strange to say it, but it's these tutorials, but they have the feeling of a 3-act film. And I didn't think that was possible, but it's a great, great, great feeling. And then I go into the Steve's forums, and it's completely different. People have these fantastic stories. It's what they're trying with him about. They've been learning this technique stuff. They're really good storytellers. And it kind of feels like home. And it feels happy. Also, I 100% can feel it's just for fucking myself. I feel at home. I feel like I'm having a good time. This is all entertainment. And the real, like, train breaks, the introduction and the conclusions, nothing connects to the audience at all. It is night and day different. Where,
Really?
yeah, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but so far every post has been a variation on this. Yeah, so heart attacks are really dangerous, And you know, if you want to have your heart beating to the right drum, you'd probably get a good drummer. And the favorite drummer I ever met was this guy. And it meant a lot to me because, you know, I like the sound of it. And they get to this glorious story about the drummer. But first of all, you spent the first 20 seconds to a minute just talking about platitudes and saying clever words that have nothing to do with what I care about, why I'm here.
Sure.
You know, I want to know how to not die. That's clearly why I signed up for this, like, post job. And every single one of them is like bam, 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 bam. And then I go back to George's course, and like flips it back on. Like, this just feels like I'm on a canoe ride going down the river.
Serving.
Or even if it's aggressive, it's we're going on a journey to punch Sauron in the face. It's like, this is not serene, but we know what we're doing and we know why we're doing it, and
You've got clear direction.
yes.
I see.
And that was the thing that hit me, that I definitely clicked with George's class a lot when I got into it, because he calls it YouTube, but it's very focused on getting relevance and meaning in every part you're writing. And I did not appreciate how that is such the most important thing to have. I love the stories, they make me happy. I think that's what takes your stuff from good to actual fucking magic that people can't believe how good it is. But without the first steps, George picked the right things to teach people first.
That is a very important lesson. Absolutely. And I imagine you have to kind of tailor that to the individual a little bit too.
Which part?
Knowing what to teach first. Knowing, yes, I'm sure there's something where it's general structure and 90% of the time you can follow things layout. But also, someone can come in and maybe you have to change that a little bit to fit them better.
Well, that's actually one of the cornerstones of his course. He would talk about literally is in the front. And he would say, this used to be the last thing in my course, but the most important thing. So in the final version, I'd revise it to be the front. And you know what I did? Skipped it. It's a boring shit. And went to the next one. You want to guess what the section was?
What was that?
Figure out your avatar. Figure out who you're talking to. 'Cause you're right. It has to be custom. And this is how you make it custom.
That makes sense. I like that. That's a good way of doing that.
It ties in so well to the empathy stuff you're doing from the ultra speaking class that I just completed. I'm in this little loop where I can feed each other really well now, but this, I believe, definitely the starting thing. So when I go to the other one, they write so well, but it's not written for anybody. So there's no that feeling of emotion because
They haven't made that avatar yet. They haven't figured out what their audience is.
yeah, I feel like someone in the Exorcist, where I'm saying, bro, I know you're asking all this. Number one, figure out your avatar. They give me a revision. That's better. Step two, figure out your avatar even more specifically. Like, who am I? Like, these are not the things I would say, but I guess it's like we were talking over at Nelson Green prior. It is the most important thing, but it's not the most important thing that people can understand and be willing to do. So
Yes.
I got benefit about being in the community where they would not bully me into it, but just be around and like, fuck. Eventually, I guess I had to because
I think we just lost the camera.
that's the design that goes so fast. You had more battery than the first guy.
Heard a beep and saw a message there.
I got an idea.
Didn't mean to derail us there, everyone. Hang tight, technical difficulties.
We had. This is one nice thing that this level of editing has gotten very easy to fix. This guy does not need.
We'll insert a screen that says hang tight, technical difficulties, and has some elevator music here.
The cat. And it's not the P. Oh,
Memory full or something?
no. Heat.
Ah. Gonna need to get one of those little fans Corey has.
I should probably just figure out the settings so that's lower resolution, which use the processor line. But no, it's been a great experience anyway. Anyway,
Yeah, always learning from experience.
yeah, I sincerely think that's the best, most important part of having friends that work with this. There's a lot of experiences that I wouldn't do if I didn't have someone. Like, there's a little bit more work, but doing it with you seems like fun.
And I wouldn't have even ever thought of strapping a little fan to the back of the camera. But I'm sure Corey down in Austin, Texas has to deal with the heat a hell of a lot more than both you and I.
Man, yeah. You know, we talk about travel, and I want to visit Corey. I want to visit Texas.
Oh, we gotta do it.
I don't even want to be in Nashville this time of year. It's so freaking hot, dude.
I love it. I love the heat. I will take this over negative 20-degree winters any day of the week.
Oh, I want to see more photos, but lest we get talking about the weather,
Yep.
the point is I wanted to bring that up because it was uncanny that the same weekend that you're coming up, run this thing from the first thing that I ever did with you.
Great timing. Which also, I should let you guys know how bad I am organization-wise. What was it, 3-4 days ago, where I said, I'm an idiot. Why are we struggling to come up with a day to record? I'm going to be in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I literally booked the trip however far in advance and thought I have plenty of time. It's so far out. And then work just kept going and going, and I lost track of what month we were in, and now it's all of a sudden right on top of me, and I didn't even tell you I was coming down.
You like surprising people.
Including myself, apparently.
Okay, so I want to transition this back to our theme,
Yes.
where all of this was about writing. And I've been asking these questions. What's the right thing to do? Should you use a teleprompter, or should you be improving on camera? Notes all. Should you be focusing on learning to write, or should you be learning to speak? You know how much I struggled to try to figure that out. Corey tore me up. Like, bro, you're talking about 2 topics, just pick one. Like, they don't feel like 2 topics. How does this even work? And then I finally realized that those 2 things are actually the same question. Are you doing scripted or are you doing improv? And that makes everything fall apart. This past week, they had the new live action movie of How to Train Your Dragon.
I did not see that, but my other half loves the animated and wants to watch it, so
Yeah.
I probably will soon.
I plan to go there with a bag full of whiskey and my phone, sit in the back and just kind of have it on in the background just so you relax a bit. I was gripped.
Yeah?
It was a great movie. The part that ties to this, he builds the, like, I don't know, what do you call, like, a peg leg? Appendage or whatever.
Sure.
He buys that appendage wing for the dragon, but he has to control it because it's not, it's got muscles.
Sure.
So they're doing that scene where he's looking at his manual, he's trying to change it in time, they kind of fly, but it's really jerky.
Mhm.
And they have a scene where he falls and he loses his instructions, and he finally has to figure out how to do it without the instructions and just feel it on the fly, improv. And that's when he becomes an actual threat. They fly so well and so fast that they're a full dragon, just like the beginning of Luke.
Sure.
And the theme still goes on. He couldn't have figured out how to improv without first having this diagram and practicing through that fall. This free fall right now is exactly where I am in my creating career. I spent 2 years learning all the scripted stuff. Scripted writing, scripted speaking. This is scripted. And now I'm in this weird free fall thing where I'm terrified to start working on stuff now because it's all going to be unscripted. I was prepared for the idea of taking my teleprompter off. Like, if you see my camera over there, it's naked. I was not prepared for the fact that all the rest of the stuff, entrepreneurship, is improv.
Oh, yes.
It terrifies me, dude. gonna call somebody up that I've never talked to, try to figure out who they are and what matters to them on the fly, and then somehow connect that to the thing that I think I can help them with. That's a lot more scary than talking on a camera by myself in my room without the script.
Yes, for now. Here's the thing, and I believe this is true for anything. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get, because it won't be all improv all of a sudden. All of a sudden you'll say something and go, oh, that worked, that sounded really good, I'm going to remember that, I'm going to use that next time. So instead of trying to have it be two disconnected questions, it now becomes, are you doing scripted or are you doing something more improv? And now all of a sudden it makes more sense to them. And the more you practice that, the more of these tools you'll have ready. So that way you only need to improv the little bits to make it feel special and personalized to them. And they're not going to realize that you have all these tools. They're going to think the whole thing is this magical. He just speaks so well. He knows all these things. The wording's incredible. How's he doing this?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much could just have you explain the whole rest of the podcast episode, because you know this so well already.
I might do a little improv in my daily work.
Just a little bit.
It's 10 hours a day, 50 hours a week of talking to people, and yeah, after about week 2, I can sell most bottles on the shelf and have selling points that I've said so many times that I'll never forget them.
This is where it seems how valuable that part of the movie, falling, life or death of the rocks, is important, because you have your job. You have to walk in, and whatever it throws at you, you have to do it, which makes it so you learn so much. I'm in a situation where my day job pays my bills. I don't have any clients that require me to do these skills yet. It's completely easy for me to not do this comfortably. And that's what's scary for me, is I'm realizing that this is what they say over and over. It separates the people who succeed in entrepreneurship and people who don't. The ones that are too comfortable never make this leap. And you hear about all the people who are great entrepreneurs, they all have this sob story of how poor or how broke or whatever in the beginning. Like, that's not a coincidence. It's not even a sad thing. That is the gift that makes them go, oh fuck, I'm going to die. So we're going to do this thing. And then they get through the beginning part to learn. Because I understand when you say, suck it up, you'll get better. I know that. Editing was painful at first.
Let me try and change your perspective on your situation.
And get out.
So, instead of viewing it as I have nothing that really necessitates me doing this, and I've got a good job already, I've got the money, I don't need to force myself into this because it's uncomfortable. Instead, look at it as, I'm so fortunate. If I fall and hit the rocks, I'm not going to die. It's not even going to affect my bottom line. I lost that client. That's fine. I'll learn for the next one. It's not life or death for you. You have a parachute, my friend.
God damn it. Like, you don't know how big of a deal that is. I have always presented how my colleagues, my classmates, and everyone else had the safety net of their parents, so they took bigger leaps and they got ahead faster than me. Because I had to guarantee 100% that nothing went wrong, because otherwise I would have started them. I had never had a safety net in my life. I didn't recognize when I had it. Didn't recognize what a useful tool it is.
Yeah, if you blow the first 5 clients figuring out what works and what doesn't, oh well, you scrap the name that they left bad reviews under and start up a new one, and now you've got experience and you know what works.
My brain would not have come up with that. That is thank you, man.
This is why I made tips as a bartender. I try and find the silver lining so people leave happy and get them in a state where they're willing to listen.
You're good at what you do. The legitimate is usually some pro and con in everything, and I've been unable to see the pros on this part, when they're pretty big.
most people aren't able to see those. Everyone's hero of their own story, but at the same time the victim of their own story, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait.
My hurdles are so just daunting, and yeah, but also look at all the nice things you have. Look at the person down the street from you that's so much worse. Yeah, you're dealing with your own stuff, I get that, but just take a moment, appreciate things, look at where you want to go, and realize, okay, I can make this work.
You know,
If I don't, I'm pretty good where I'm at right now. There's nothing wrong with that.
you make a really good point that it's hard to see where you truly are right now. So,
Oh,
you
being
don't see-
objective about yourself is the hardest thing to fucking do ever.
So, yeah. So the idea of the question, how much have I grown? You need to have been honest about where you were before, and then honest where you are today, and that's too like holy. So that was kind of the thing where going into the second storyteller community, and it was, man, this feels off. Bro, just do this, this, and this. Realize, holy crap, I know a whole lot of the most important things. It feels like I can be the TA in that community. And
It's almost like you could coach them on this, even.
oh my gosh, how did this get here? It's strange how much I don't see it sometimes. It's my first time seeing it at all. So, you know.
I'm proud of you, man. And I think you're going to see it a lot more, and I think you're going to be very successful, especially if you can keep that mentality of not being afraid to make some mistakes.
I think you already have mastered this in the full news, but maybe it'll be useful to somebody else. This is just a big reminder of the student teacher lesson. That at this moment, I feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I don't have any business doing this. At the same time, I'm realizing I freaking over prepared and I've wasted so much time, and I would have started learning faster once I had the minimum level of having students and learning from that experience. And if you are anyways in a situation where you are trying to learn something new or to teach something new or to run a business, don't just do nothing, but after you have some prep work, test it out, start to get the feel it, so you know when you're at the point where you're not being the master, but the student teacher.
Sure.
And start doing it then. Because I realized, looking back, I've been always trying to teach other people in my courses, every single one. As soon as I think I learned something, I'm like, oh, that's right. Hey guys, you should try this. I could have been doing some form of teaching way back then, instead of waiting till now.
Better late than never. Again, very proud of how far you've come, I try to think. You don't need to dive straight into the teaching college level course. It's okay to start out by teaching, oh yeah, this is just beginner entry level. How can we get some basics down so that way you guys can feel comfortable and feel like you're now the big fish in the little pond if you go to one of these other classes.
Then, oh.
What can I teach you to get the most out of what other people are doing even?
Tell me more about that.
Well, think about all these people in the classes you've gone through, and you're saying you've already mastered all these things, you know how to help them.
What?
Tell them, oh yeah, here's some basics. When you go and look at some other courses because you're passionate about this, and that's what I did, and if you're on the same path as me, look out and look at what your future teachers are doing and look for this, this, and this. And now all of a sudden it's going to be like when you went over to Iceland for a yoga class.
Yeah.
And how much more you got out of it than the average person there, I'm guessing.
That was the first hint I started getting that, oh, maybe I know some stuff. Because it wasn't just I could do that class. So much of what I knew before was connecting into it, allowing me to do a higher level of that than what I must do.
So, start teaching that. You'd be great at it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta focus on one thing to teach. just kind of like, oh, what? I can teach a lot of cool stuff. This is exciting. So sticking on like the one laser, but it's fun.
Again, teach the entry level of that. You don't need to start off with college level, going super high tier.
Oh yeah.
Even just building up your market so that way if you want to teach the high level stuff, bring up everyone from the levels underneath so you got that much more market now to teach.
I was thrilled when I came across the idea of teaching getting started videos. Instead of, here's how to do the entire thing, how to be a content creator. Here's the first thing, and then all the way up to getting your 1 million, like no. First step, that's what we're all talking about today. How to get started. I've seen that more and more. And
Yeah, that's right.
so the twist on this, that I definitely want to hear more about you, son.
Okay.
It's not just the speaking parts or the writing parts that are split in improv and scripted. Entrepreneurship, getting your business license, picking your product, doing market research, all these gritty things you do by yourself also fit into the improv category. It's a completely different life being a student versus being a business owner. Student, you're following a path. Entrepreneur, you're creating your own on the fly every day, not just with your words.
Yeah, and at first it's gonna be very hard. One of the experiences I am so grateful for is that I got involved at Scissors and Scotch as a bartender right away during COVID, because I got to kind of watch it grow from a bar/barber shop opening up in the middle of the global pandemic, where I had to wear a mask on the other side of the bar, and we couldn't offer beard trims of any kind because everyone had to be wearing masks, and it was just the horrible time to try and open up. To now they're trying to find location number 3, and watching it grow and build up the clientele and people get excited and what works, what doesn't work. That was the experience I'm very grateful for.
So among all the interesting jobs you've had that make you wiser than most people I know, you say that wasn't above average.
That was an experience that I don't think most people will ever get to have, is joining on to something that is entirely new to the person who is owning and running it.
So it's new for him too.
He had never run a Scissors and Scotch. He's never had a barber shop or bar. He's done a few entrepreneurial things. He's done retail. He's been able to do things on the fly before, but he had never done that before.
It's the student teach rigor. If he had been a master, he wouldn't talk about it, you wouldn't see him learning it, so you would have learned it because it would have been hidden. It would have been reflex. So you actually learned more because he wasn't a master.
And where I'm at now, Total Wine, big company, 200 something locations across the US. They got procedures for fucking everything. Which is great because there's clear paths on how to do things and you don't need to second guess everything. But at the same time, you never learn those lessons. You never learn, here's how to think on yourself of what should we do here. Because it's so much just copy and paste what corporate tells you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tying it in, I actually wanted to dive deeper into what things are scripted and what things are improv. And it's fun to talk with this theory, but we need to be concrete for useful things. What situations would someone walk in and go, okay, this is scripted 1. I need to master my scripted skills so I can solve this thing. Can you think of any things that are scripted? Scripted writing, scripted speaking, or this scripted action?
I can think of a few things, and a few things that should be, but not necessarily are. The biggest one to me is politics. And if you are anyone in any sort of political power, you should have a clearly written out, well-rehearsed speech that we're not saying things that get misconstrued and turned into something that you really don't mean. Whether that's getting mad at the TV late night host and saying something that we're doing something when the national security director just said, no, we aren't doing this. I'm like, just trying to make sure you stay clear to the message as it's intended. That's a great time for scripted. That's not a good time to let emotions rise and have improv come out and put your foot in your mouth.
It's a good poem.
Yeah, I always say 99% of the time, I think the correct choice is have 60 to 70% scripted and do little bits of improv that make it feel special and make people think that the whole thing is just you doing something special for them.
Yeah.
And then they will think about it as a gift, something that will never happen again, and it's an incredible experience. Oh my God, he was able to do such a crowd where he called out the coach shirt. Like 99% of the show is the same as the last show we did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll leave that down the road. I think that focus on learning scripting stuff, focus on learning improv stuff, and then after you do that, learn how to blend it to be the ultimate master. Look for down the road. But yeah, I've seen it. When it happens, that's
it's
incredible.
magic.
Yeah.
It's magic. There's nothing short.
Yeah, can you give me another scripted situation?
Oh, let's see. When you're performing something that's more physical with other people, it is a good idea to have it scripted. My favorite example of this is Penn and Teller. Great magical duo. Watched literally any of their performances, but the one that comes to mind the best for me, it is when they were on Saturday Night Live. They did a wonderful scripted performance of them being magical, live entertainer people, and how all these tricks were defying gravity. The whole thing was done with them hanging upside down and the camera upside down, and then it reveals at the end that that's how things are just floating away, how they're bouncing balls and trying to make it look right. And it's so well scripted, the physical part, that when you're watching it live, it's just, how are they doing this? This is magic. But the studio audience sees it and knows what's going on. When it flips, you're in on the joke. It's a magical moment. But it wouldn't work if you were trying to improv it.
So I'm asking you for the examples before we get into like the abstract. I love the definition I found.
Okay.
Scripted is for when the consequences are irreversible.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The whole illusion would be broken if they screwed one thing up and they couldn't put that king back in the pocket. I've seen this.
Sad thing is, I'm not sure if you're talking about the magician or the government saying we aren't doing something that they're actually doing.
Yeah, it's
that's an illusion on both ends, I guess. Yeah,
very much so. Oh my lord, I'll cut this out, but actually I would want to talk about it more later. I've been getting more about my politics, and there's just been so crystal clear about people who feel like they're not loved by anybody to lean heavier into politics, because the politics, the biggest lie they tell you is that we care about it. So, my brother's on part-time job. He feels like he doesn't really have anybody in his corner. And he's a lot more into politics now. He wouldn't talk about it before. I know what his beliefs were. His beliefs haven't changed. So it's not about what you believe, but like the people who get all nut jobby about politics, sure, always angry about it. I think that's it. They're just really lonely, sad people who start getting into like the fact that somebody on TV said that my life matters is the most care that I've gotten. This is my personality. And once I questioned that on Monday, I can't unsee it. I see it everywhere. So it's like, ooh, yeah, I don't want to be looking like that. So if I start getting a little bit too volatile about politics, I need to invest more and get more human connection.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot stand how modern politics are so us versus them. Like, there's only two camps, and no, there's not. Humanity as a whole is not just binary beliefs.
Yeah.
We're much more complicated than that, and trying to simplify it down, thinking that that's even remotely possible, is idiocy.
Didn't want to do a huge detour. We do got more about that afterward. But now that we have that abstract theory thing, can you give me another application that's scripted? Situations that are irreversible.
Amen. I mean, the one that comes to mind is like courtroom hearings, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, something that has consequence to it. Absolutely. Giving a speech to foreign powers, government, any kind of government really, of course, should be, it has hard consequences.
I think for me, this is why it's so bloody hard for me to do improv, is all science and technology things are irreversible. When I started civil engineering, they sat us down and had a long homework problem that almost everybody's guaranteed failed, but looked like you had the right answer. And then they will tell you that this happened in real life, and they used your answer, and 1,000 people died. We are told repeatedly it's irreversible and life and death. So when you start getting into entrepreneurship and editing and writing, that is irreversible. You can edit it, you can do it later. My brain is still hardwired for like, no, you cannot make a mistake the first time. And it has been hard on an emotional mindset level to shift over to this.
That is something where I guess I am blessed with for the experience of working in retail. Oh, you didn't get that customer? Guess what? 2 seconds later, you're talking to another one. You don't have time to think about consequences of missing that one. You need to jump onto the next one and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. In my career, you make one mistake, they take away your license, and you don't get the chance to ever do it again.
That is very different.
So, maybe a little breadth for both of us that can understand that we're running into more than one type of person and do the empathy thing and adjust it like whatever type it was. But I think this is going to be a big part of my work going forward, is working with people who have careers of that nature. Like, okay, I get it. I come from that irreversible thing, and I bridge the gap. I can teach you how to start feeling like it's not irreversible consequences. When your brain knows it's not, I need you to feel it too. So you do the stuff that'll get you to the next level.
That's interesting. I think it's going to be a very powerful thing for you to be able to do. We mentioned earlier, like Chris Matz, the writing instructor at the Wizard Academy of Ads. The level 1 course that I did with them, he shows up at the seats to tell us all of our writing is shit, except one guy. And he was the engineer, went through school, and they taught him to take all the filler shit words out that don't mean anything. You don't need to try and overcomplicate it with all these fluffy words. Rip that out. Just paint the picture of what it is, and give us the clearest picture with the minimal amount of words surrounding good. And he was so good at it because of that. So if you can get people from that background to start feeling confident in their writing, that it's fine to put it out, can edit it, you can make mistakes, it's okay. That's going to be a very powerful thing for them. They're going to be some incredible writers in no time, I believe.
Yeah, it is the right result that you have to master the one side, then master the other, and become someone who hardly anyone ever becomes. Because if you have both, it's insane. But let's not worry about that, because just figuring out one is hard.
Oh, yes.
Let's look at the second one. So, to wrap this segment up, the couple examples I had. Sales calls. In the beginning of a sales call, things are irreversible. when you're trying to get across the general value proposition and why would matter to this person, you're essentially trying to answer one question in as few words possible. Why should this person begin listening to you? And if the answer ever trips into no, they're gone. And that's irreversible. This is the style of writing we use for YouTube introductions, where you can be a little more goofy in the body, but in the intro, they didn't buy tickets, they didn't drive to the place. As soon as they don't like it, they click off and they're gone. It's irreversible. You don't get a second chance with that much. So we do scripted writing in those situations. Also got, we talked about what entrepreneurship is that. I had a list, but I'm missing it. So, oh wait, no. Firing employees. You can get sued if you say the wrong word there.
That makes sense.
And it's kind of a good, but just gut check. I'm walking into this. Are the consequences irreversible? Will I get a second swing it back if this goes wrong? And if the answer is no, lean into scripting. What I'm getting to ask this is, what should you study now? Okay? So if you're seeing in your life that you have a lot of these situations coming up, you should start starting your scripted skills and improve those first. You can do scripted writing or scripted speaking, but this is the side you need to be working on. I can actually see you can't separate writing from speaking, but you can separate scripted style from improv style. In your personal life, it's conflict resolution. If you've ever had a girlfriend and had a fight where you knew that this could be it, that was spoken, but that was a scripted conversation. You had irreversible consequences. You might have actually sat down and thought hard about what you were going to say before you had that conversation. Other conversations where you're not scripted at the one going, oh, I know I'm going to see you again. So worst case scenario, I'll apologize and we'll cover the topic that you wanted to get to when I just got obsessed with my topic,
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Yeah, it's interesting to me though that you put sales call on the scripted one. And yes, I understand what you're getting at, but at the same time, you lose a call, you've got a call list of 150 more. To me, that's not a consequence. That's okay, struck out on that one. Guess what? I've got 2 more strikes I can go for. As long as I'm hitting my metrics, it's fine. I'll learn what works, I'll learn what doesn't work.
Yeah, man. I guess I really called it wrong by putting sales calls on the scripted side. Moving on.
To a degree.
Moving on. Improv. What are some situations where the improv on the fly skill?
My daily life.
Tell me a little bit of it. Give me concrete so people can recognize it if it was that.
So, there are times where I've had, like recently, a guy came in asking about a bottle of whiskey called, no, I'm not going to say the name, but I don't want to talk trash on them. I don't know their brand story that well or anything, but it has Texas in the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big Texas whiskey guy. I go down there a lot. Good friends with Corey and a lot of people in the whiskey community in Texas. So I'm good friends with Corey, a bunch of people in the whiskey community. I know what's going on in Texas. I've never heard of this one that he's asking about.
Yeah.
And I looked into it a little bit, and on the back it says they're based in California, but it says the word Texas in it. Very strange. And he's wearing a Texas shirt. He had asked to try a few things before and had a Texas ID. Now he's asking about Texas whiskey. So I was looking at him and say, yeah, that one's made in California. You want a good Texas whiskey, try out this Still Austin. This is one of my favorites. I know CJ down there. I understand what it is you're looking for, and I understand as a Texan, you're not going to be happy if I point out that they're based in California, not Texas. I know how to instantly flip you to be on my side, and now since I pointed that out, you trust me, I'm an authority figure, I can add on to this and say, oh, you like Still Austin now? I poured you some of that, you enjoyed that. Let's try out Giant, they're another distillery in Texas, or let's try Saints Alley, which has made the partnership with Iron Root in Texas. And he ended up leaving with, I think, 3 bottles of whiskey that I recommended.
Exactly. This is so good. Jump into it already. The theory behind improv is for when you need a high level of connection with somebody. That entire time you're talking about unique details about this guy. You didn't say, this is how customers are, or how whiskey people are. You kept saying, he,
Oh no,
he,
you make it
he.
as individualized as you can. Absolutely.
There's a lot of emotional connection and intensity you can make from scripted, but there's a seal. And for the most important things in our life, we will not buy the thing, make the decision, listen to the thing, change the mind, unless it's a very high level of emotional connection. The only way to achieve that is by improv, because improv is adapting to who you are, who I am.
I would add one other time to use improv, and that is when you have more than one person working on the project and you're doing something live and you want it to be truly unique. So if you get a group of comedians doing a live show in front of an audience, have it be improv, and that audience is going to have an experience that's totally unique, and they can go to this show and the next location or the next day even and be just as excited knowing that they're going to get something else that's completely unique and they haven't seen it before.
So it could be the same people, but they get to enjoy a new experience each time.
Yep. It's that difference between having Cirque du Soleil where you see it and then you don't really need to see it for a while because you already saw the show, you know what happens, versus going and watching just this spectacle of performers at like a Renaissance festival where they're just having a good time and, oh yeah, we got some balloons today. You go stand over there, I'm gonna throw knives at you. Oh, I don't have balloons today. What else can we do?
This kind of sounds like live music, where you heard the album, but when people are performing, they're good at that. There's these subtle changes that they adapt to how the crowd is feeling right now.
Oh, absolutely.
That makes it so potent.
God, just little things. And like I said before, even if it's only let's even say 10% improv can make such a big difference. I'll never forget one of the earlier concerts I'd been to was a rock band, and then as part of their encore couple songs that they played Sweet Home Alabama as a rock band, but changed it from Alabama to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And the crowd went fucking nuts. It's not like they didn't know how to play Sweet Home Alabama. It's not like they made a whole new song. They just changed one word in the song, and everyone lost their mind. You could absolutely do Sweet Home Nashville.
Yep.
Might not fit as well, I don't know. But it's like you could find something and do it for just about every single place they were playing. And everyone would lose their mind because we're from here. We just had a great show. We love you guys. We had a couple beers. And now you're talking about us. And we love it.
So where I see this is Charlie Cooper is famous for getting his start by making a built-in breakdown video where he has extremely strong eye connection and everybody feels like he's talking directly to them. They're the town hall. But on top of just the eyeball thing, freaking Rasputin, he listens to one detail, and even though it's small and insignificant and really just you can tell it doesn't matter, it's enough for you to feel like you care. So so your family's from Montana, right? Oh yeah, the mining industry's big out there. So you would change the answer he had, just 2 words, to somehow feel connected to that industry, so that person would feel connected to it. And this comes down to, I saw this so many times in Ultra Speed Fights. If somebody's disagreeing with you or telling you that the decision's gonna be something you don't like, when you feel like they actually listen to your position and know, you trust them a lot more, and you're a lot more at peace with it because you don't feel like I'm just going to get completely murdered. It feels like I don't like this. I think we should do something else. But they put what I need on the scales, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
It's not considered me. This is devastating for me. This is probably going to be minor inconvenience. So I can tell he actually listened to what's going on. So that little just glossing, as fake as it is really common.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, going back to the example of the guy from Texas, all of a sudden he feels like I have his best interest at heart, and he's way more willing to listen and way more perceptive.
Yeah. And the really wild thing about this, it begins to become true. My biggest problem, I was talking and made a lot of my relationships and friendships pretty distant, was I sincerely just didn't say anything interesting to clear. Nothing. So I didn't listen. And these kind of things, chicken or yay, I start doing this. And then I see the reaction, but actually I go, well, fuck, no, that actually is interesting to that person. And I actually might not do what they want, but I actually do care now what they feel about this. That's been one of the biggest rewards of this entire process. So I can't solve teaching empathy on one episode of the podcast. The point I'm making is this can be learned really surprisingly rapidly when you find the threads are pulling. And this is a spot where you can start pulling that thread.
That is a big lesson, and I hope more people learn it. We could use more empathy in the world.
You said everybody's a bartender.
That'd be dangerous.
All right, so getting to the summary of applications. So, improv is useful for things like sales calls. It's both.
Yes, it is.
So we can actually get a really nice breakdown. The beginning should be scripted. It's like your hook, you need them 10 people into the list. And then you have another segment, which is the discovery portion. That's entirely asking questions about the individual. That's very improv. And then when you get to the close, you're probably going to get a mix of both. But if you don't have some improv in the close, you're not going to be able to generate that high level of trust and emotion, connection. You know, you're with that guy felt the connection, felt listened to because you improv. If you're trying to sell him a house, or making changes in mind of religion, or if you try to marry somebody, bars even higher. You're going to need to have more improv in your sales close, the higher ticket the items.
To a degree. There are absolutely times where I have sold bottles that are more expensive with very little work to make it personalized. And again, I said this to you before, selling low ticket bottles to people, doesn't matter if it's a bottle of whiskey or something that's just a luxury product versus an everyday product. The everyday product, you have to get so excited and energetic and just, this is the best thing since sliced bread, you're gonna love it, here's all the fun things about it. Selling something more luxury, it's just, oh yeah. Isle Sky does some great lemon scotches. They're 30-year though, for on sale right now, $230. Is just magnificent. It's nuanced, it's got complexity, just a whisper of smoke, and it's everything it needs to be.
The tone of voice sound like a shared experience instead of I'm listening to your enthusiasm.
And now all of a sudden it's, instead of, oh, I'm enthusiastic, I'm going to pick up this bottle and just make an impulse purchase. Now this is calm, methodical. This is how people are wanting to spend more money. They don't want to make high impulse purchases. They want to be confident in their purchase if they're paying that much.
Well said. We're going down the list of other applications. Sales calls, Q&A sessions. These are really important.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if you get a keynote, usually having some time after, which I think they do now, I understand. So you have the feeling of connection. That's a lot of them.
To a degree. I'm sure once you've done enough, you've heard so many questions that you have some scripted answers.
Yeah. I think you're at a level where you're so high in both that you work them together
I do.
that the lines between script and unscript are beginning to blur for you.
Yes, and I love it, and at the same time, I hate how cheesy some of my lines have become.
A little bit cheesy before.
Oh, they were cheesy before, but some of them are getting just outrageous. One of the things that I hate how well it works, Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, a lot of people have cabins. And this is the time of year where they're going out to the lakes and they're spending time at the cabins. So now, one of my go-to lines that works more often than it fucking should is, oh, you gotta pick up a second one of those to bring to the cabin now. And it's so stupid, and it works so often.
I can't say crap to this. I got 100 sunglasses at every location so I don't lose them. This makes sense. You are a good advisor.
You don't need just one case of vodka for home. You need a second case of vodka to bring to the lake house. Oh my god, why does it work so well?
This makes me feel sad for all the unattended alcohol hanging around in houses in Minnesota right now.
Honestly, yeah. Except the problem is they're Minnesotans. It's gonna get drank, don't worry.
Yes, but that's still wait. It's like a little bit doggy. I noticed this a lot in the workshop. So QA's workshops are very similar. Webinars very similar.
Yep.
When he ran it, and I gotta say, Steve Rawling, I fucking love this guy. I wish I could talk him up better during this episode, but we're focusing on a different topic. He goes on and he's presenting his storytelling techniques. Sprawling, excited. He's breaking down some people's stories. On the fly, scrawling, great, interesting. And then you get to the part where they do the pitch about the community, the fee for the month, and what do you get out of it. And it's just nothing. A long string of like, I'm confused about what they're actually offering. Because the guy is the advisor type, which makes him great at high-end sales and being a real mentor. He sincerely cares about people. He doesn't have a salesman bone in his body because he just wants to make beautiful things happen in people's lives. So it was one of those things where it was kind of great to see him not have a Paul skill set on that part of it. But it also made me, oh, well, now I see what skill sets needed if you were to be focusing on it.
That's funny.
So the next part is mentoring. A lot of improv and mentoring.
Oh.
He is an incredibly good mentor. He does charity work taking care of certain disadvantaged school children. And he's a natural great.
That's impressive and good for him.
I imagine for him, you probably say, what, you're like, everyone can't do this? I think it's just something so instinctively part of who he is. And then we get to the human connection in your life. For the breakup conversation, you need script to make sure that the irreversible consequences are handled. Most of your conversations that add meaning and value, your friends and your family and everything, those are because you're unscripted. I've mentioned before that I feel like, why do every time I go for karaoke, I feel so fake, wooden, and the least charismatic I get when I'm the most firing people up. And I realize it's because, man, this taught me so much this week. It's because when I go to karaoke, I can't turn off my presenter voice. I'm scripted. I can't go into my improv mode. And that's where human connection comes from. That's where most of the beautiful stuff we heard.
So, one of my first entries into speaking was helping out teaching martial arts classes, which is more that mentorship style, to where it was 90% improv. So it's interesting that you say you have the opposite problem, where you put on your presenter voice and you're following this kind of script. I have the opposite problem, where I can't put on that voice unless I'm in front of the class trying to lead it and act like I know what I'm doing. It's the only time I can bring out that voice.
I could see that. And it's kind of, this is so eye-opening. I'm glad we're like different enough we can learn from each other. That learning when to turn on the right dial at the right time is probably the magic sauce.
Oh, absolutely.
But that can only happen after you have some ability in each one. And you can't flip on the switch if you don't have the light bulb.
For sure.
But we're both running into the same problem of being the rep sit to learn how to expand the range of places we can do the one we're not natural.
Between the two of us, we might have one professional speaker here.
Yes. Yeah. I'm literally thinking about doing some more lightweight stuff together.
Sure.
Less ideas, but we can practice our skills, have some fun, and because we definitely compliment each other a lot. I want to just have more fun and get more volume, more reps into my body.
I like that idea, my friend.
So on that note, let's wrap up with our questions. I got a question for you first.
All right.
One thing, and filtering to one thing is its own special skill. Is there one thing in today's episode that would apply to your work when you go back?
Oh, the improv is going to be turning up more than it has in a while when I go back. It is the feeling I get strongly. Without going into too much detail, going to be taking on more responsibility and doing more things I have never done before. And they're all things that should be scripted, but I do not know the script and have not been shown the script yet. A coworker of mine is big into the theater scene, great guy, and he told me about how there's a local group called BARD, B-A-R-D, and they go to local bars and they perform like classic Shakespeare style plays, but they've only read it once before, the day before, and they're all drinking during it and trying to do their best to remember and perform it the way it's intended. And that is what I feel like I'm going to be doing at work for a little bit.
Let's talk. We spent an entire day in the ultra speaking of how to bridge the gap when you completely lost your notes. And it's something you have. Nothing happens. The whole house burns down. You've never practiced the skill, but in a single 2-hour session, we got to like, holy crap, that guy sounds like he's doing the entire time. But I saw him lose his notes. I know you don't know what you're talking about. How do you sound like you don't be talking?
Yeah, that's the goal. Is I want, if I can't do it perfectly right, I want to baffle them about how confident I am and how close I can get.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do it, dude.
We'll
You're
see.
dangerous.
We'll see. At the very least, I'm gonna try and come across as confident, and if I fuck it up, I'm gonna fuck it up so badly that they don't know how I did it. To where it looks like it's something beyond me, something catastrophic happened.
You want to be memorable.
And they're just gonna look at this burning wreckage of what I have somehow managed to do and just go, this must have been an act from God. There's no way you managed this. And then I get off scot-free.
Looking forward to hearing about this.
Yeah, we're gonna hope that there's no dumpster fires occurring with my baffle them with your bullshit strategy.
Yes. All right, you got a question for me before we wrap up?
Oh, so in the spirit of today's episode, I decided not to think about it and leave it to improv.
Yeah, smart man.
Well, smart man until the moment's upon us, and now I am saying this while still trying to think of a question.
Throw this a random metaphor and then find some way to bullshit to connect it, and that'll buy you at least 30 seconds of time.
No, that's too far. I'm going to throw you a question of, you have been talking with me about this game that you experienced, the cinematics of, and how it translates literally, was it light versus dark or something like that?
Yeah.
which sounds just from the title to be very Baroque.
Yep.
Are you letting that influence your improv as much as your script? And how can you get more of that into your improv?
Well, I think it would be effortless. That's definitely what pulled me into Baroque. And as much as everyone's talking about, because I studied, I have a degree in Baroque. To talk about this story, the art, the music, the game, it's the French thing, but more than a French thing, it's the Baroque art piece and the art style and the music. I actually have a friend, you know her, that lives in Paris, and I hate French things. Finally, I mentioned some French things, so I'm sending her the songs, because it's got French lyrics and stuff.
Sure.
Like, oh, what are they saying? I figured she'd go, it's like, oh my gosh, it's French, we can be friends now. She writes back, I don't listen to this. Freaking, I hate opera music. It's like, how the hell did we ever date? And I actually don't have an answer for that. It's such an important part to me that I don't know. How did I have closeness with somebody who doesn't like any classical music? It wasn't, I don't like this song or that's like this flat out, no. Pop music or nothing. Jesus Christ. So, that answers the question. This is very, very fundamental to the point. You've known that for a while.
Yes.
And it's not fundamental for everybody. So, this is the fish in the water thing. Where for me, this is effortless and obvious, but it's not for everybody. So I don't realize I'm even doing it. Where the fundamentals, the 5 fundamentals from Ben James' stage cabinet, it's all about building your range. Light and dark. The reason why Baroque does this is it gives you more contrast. It's not about the light, not about the dark, but range of contrast. So in your melody, have a big contrast in that. Your volume, big contrast in that. Your tone, big contrast in that. It's the contrast that makes everything. It's part of every part of speaking I do, and it comes out even more in the improv. I would say the fuel for improv is to have something relevant coming next. Have something effortless that you can rely on as a safety net. So you can try to jump for higher things when you're speaking, but you know you always have something relevant coming next. And that comes down to motion from relevance. You get that from the contrast. So when you're going along and I'm trying to improv and in doubt, pick whatever comes first, either the speaking tone or the actual topic I'm talking about, and just throw a massive amount of contrast in the wall. If I'm making an argument for, here's why we need to ban houseplants, and I can't figure out anything to say that, immediately, bam, really angry, pro-houseplant argument, because we'll come back to why that's a bad argument later, and I don't know that yet. But the fact that I made a giant emotional shift, and the words are completely the opposite of what I was saying before, I bought myself another minute of attention. Like, whoa, this is different, this is weird. If he's going to the opposite argument, he's probably trustworthy, because he's looking at both sides of this. And those are the kind of improv things that have made it easier to learn the rest of it.
That's a good answer.
Lisa.
2 things.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the name of the game so that way we can add that into the show notes and get more traction?
Yeah. Thing jacking is great. Its name is Clar Obscure. So Clar is not pronounced correctly, but that means light. Obscure means darkness. And when you put them together, it's the word for contrasting.
Oh, like
Light and dark. It's one of those words that has a different meaning when they're combined. Expedition 33. And those words are English, so everyone just calls it Expedition 33. But it's tearing up at the media right now. Everybody's talking about it being the best video game that's come out in 5 years or so. And you might be right.
I'm going to have to do some research, watch some cinematics of it. But then my second point, and much more important than trying to hitch our wagon onto that for a little bit. Do you remember, towards the start of the show, sitting here how many years ago, and you told me that for the longest time, you didn't like Baroque. you told me that you hadn't used it, you didn't think about it ever. And then we started talking about writing styles in relationship to art styles. And all of a sudden you went, son of a bitch, it's Baroque.
Yes, I got my camera. I didn't know why I loved shadows so much. And you were just smiling the whole time like, bro, that's what Baroque is.
But to hear you say it's effortless now and you easily insert it into everything, even in improv, I'm just so filled with joy at that.
I don't know how, we don't take enough time to say how good it feels. We're talking about getting the results, but the writing now, these things, I feel whole. It's not this, I know that this would be more interesting for someone to listen to, that might be more attention, which could accomplish other goals. The moment of actually doing it, it feels like this flow of being the person that I always was supposed to be, the person I always wanted to be. Like, I'm finding myself.
I'm happy to hear that, Life Drive, because you are a much more interesting person now. Like, you were a great guy then, but much more interesting now.
Oh man, that makes me really happy. Dude, thank you.
Pleasure.